Hey there, so today I'm actually going to be showing you guys how I go about feeding my snake. My snake is not very old, he's a juvenile ball python and his name is Basil. He's actually in his enclosure right now, which is behind the camera, and he's kind of very curious in my voice right now, and I'll show you guys. So here's Basil. He's very interested in me, but he's not being defensive. And I can tell this because if he were, he'd be coiled up and he would be following my hand with his eyes, and he's not doing that. He's just curious about what's going on and he's drawn to my voice. So to start off with getting him, I get a temporary enclosure, which is going to be this kind of bucket, which is for him to sit in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some bedding in. Bedding is really important for this because you don't want him to be just on like the plain plastic, because that's not very good for snakes. So he's kind of wiggling up at me, seeing what's going on. He knows it's time. So I'm just going to clear off some space from here, and I'm going to dump some of his bedding. This is snake bedding. It is made from aspen. It is the only good kind of bedding you want for snakes. So I'm going to dump. Ooh, that is too much. Well, it's fine. So I'm just going to kind of even it out and maybe put some of this bedding back. Aspen bedding does kind of get everywhere, so you have to be careful with it. So I'm just putting some of his bedding back, because you don't want too much, because this isn't a permanent enclosure. This is just kind of something to put him in for while I'm getting his food ready. So this is what the bedding looks like when it's in the container. You know, you've got like about a couple inches here, and it's kind of soft, and just to let him chill. So next I'm going to show you guys the actual food and how I get the food ready. So this is actually the easy part. What I want is I have these are frozen pinky mice. They are very small. Just a warm for anyone's squeamish. These are dead mice. So I just kind of, they come in like strips like this in little packs. So I just kind of tear one of these guys off, and I'm going to put the rest back in the freezer. So before you feed a snake, you always want to make sure that it is thawed. So right now it is frozen. This is what they look like. They're super small. So what you want to do is you want to get a disposable cup. I use these plastic Solo cups, and I fill them with warm water. And then I'm going to put the pinky mouse in and let it thaw for a couple minutes until it's warm. And then I'll show you guys how I feed. Okay, so while he's thawing, what I'm going to do, so while this thing is thawing, I'm going to move that to a separate area. He's in this cup of water, you know, just kind of thawing. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off his heating lamp and put that aside. It sits on the top of his cage. Next, I'm going to pull off the lid. Put that down behind his tank. Oh, he's already really wanting to come out. Next, here we go. I'm just gonna put him in there. And then, make sure he doesn't get out. I'm just gonna put his screen over the top of his little feeding container. I'll show you guys what that looks like. So here he is in his feeding container. He's just kind of curious. Yeah, so we've got the screen on here so he doesn't, you know, get out. And yeah, so I'm letting that thaw for a minute and then I'll feed him. All right, so it's important to note that for safety reasons, I'm freshly showered. This being that, like the reason why I shower before I feed him or handle him is because if I smell like food, I'm gonna get bitten. Now, ball python bites don't really hurt. They're very small, and because they're non-venomous, they're constrictors, which means they squeeze their prey really tightly to kill it. It means that their bites don't hurt. However, they, on their top rows of teeth, have 4 rows of barbed teeth that are faced backwards like this. So it's going to kind of look like that, facing the back of their mouths. This helps them get a better grip on live prey. So their bites don't really hurt. It kind of feels like someone's squeezing you really tightly. But the only thing is you have to be careful. You cannot rip them off. You can't panic and rip them off, because since their teeth are barbed, it will tear your skin off and hurt them. So really what you do when you want to pull a python off of you that has bitten you is you douse it in cold water or let it come off. They'll usually let go of themselves because they'll realize this is a bit too big for me to be eating. Alright, so I've got the thawed pinky mouse, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab it with my tongs. And I'm going to try and feed him. So I'm going to try and set up my camera so you guys can see the feeding process. I want to keep him from getting out. To do that, you know, I kind of got to push him back down. He don't like that. So boop, boop. And you kind of want to antagonize them into getting at the prey, which is very important. And he's a reptile, so reptiles are cold-blooded. They do not feel love. So really, I'm just antagonizing him. He does not love me. He tolerates me. Yeah. He also doesn't really have ears, so you can pull him back in. Maybe try getting him to eat, please. And if he doesn't eat, that's okay. But what he would normally do is he'd grab at the prey. Yeah. He doesn't want to do that right now. So we're just gonna put him